I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about something very important that is affecting the world today, and that is the coronavirus, which has started, and people are scared because anytime there's a worldwide epidemic, because we're global, this affects everyone. And this virus is something we've got to pay attention to, because if you go back to my previous predictions, you will find that I've been talking about viruses coming up here in the world now. Because for one thing, let me go over some of the astrological rhyme and reason with this. First of all, Rahu and Ketu. I have said this over and over again. When Rahu goes into Gemini and Ketu comes into Sagittarius, when they go into the nakshatras of, in Gemini, Ardra, and in Sagittarius, in Mula, this is very detrimental, because over the past, historically, this has been very, very difficult. So I'm always talking about this time period. So it takes 18 and a half years for Rahu to go into Sagittarius and Ketu to go into Gemini. And so every 18 and a half years, we have some kind of crises that is very, very difficult for the world. And the last 18 and a half years ago was September 11, 2001. But 18 and a half years ago, prior to that, 1982, was what? The AIDS virus. This killed so many people worldwide. It definitely killed more people than September 11, 2001. And even historically, when we go back to 1963, 18 and a half years ago from that was the Kennedy assassination. Then taking it back to 18 and a half years ago prior to that was the bombing of Hiroshima. So we have all these events, all quite different, but all devastating. And now we have the threat to another virus. And we don't actually understand where it originated, just like with the AIDS virus. But I'm thinking it had an incubation period where last fall it really started to come up and things were forming that started this whole virus in China. So talking about the last time that Mars was in Virgo, when Mars comes into Virgo, it acclimates things in the area of health and disease in the world. Now, it was last in Virgo in November, so I know things were acclimating towards this. But now that we have Rahu and Ketu in these very difficult signs and nakshatras, now we're seeing this virus that has potential to be an epidemic. And I also noted that right now as I'm speaking, Mars is in Scorpio, where the panic is starting to grow and the cases are starting to grow. Remember, when Mars travels in the very last degrees of Scorpio, it is Gandanta, which means things are out of control. And things are out of control right now, because as I speak right now, it is where Mars is at 29 degrees of Scorpio. And today's date is February 6th. It's right before it's about to tomorrow go into Sagittarius, which is going to bring another whole host of intense problems, because then it's going to enter into the nakshatra Mula, which Mula is the nakshatra of destruction. Nriti is the god of Mula, which is the god of destruction. So things have to be destroyed to be renewed. That's what it's all about, this portion of the zodiac. But right here, right now, at 29 degrees of Scorpio, this is called Gandanta, and it is also in the tail of the scorpion. Remember this, the tail of the scorpion is poisonous. And what are we dealing with? Poisons, disease that have the potential to be epidemics in this world. It's very dangerous. Now, there's some other things that are going to exacerbate this problem during the next few months. And that is, first of all, Neptune being with Mercury retrograde. Mercury deals with traveling, which means it's going to be delayed, setback. It already is. Why? Cruise ships are being canceled. Airlines are being canceled because the potential of spreading this disease. And that's going to continue throughout the Mercury retrograde that's coming up here, which is February through March. And really, its time frames are going to be that the shadow phase, February 2nd through almost the end of March, is going to be where this is going to take effect. So be aware that February 17th through March 10th is when Mercury is retrograde, and it's with Neptune. Neptune represents diseases and surfacing some things that we didn't know about. And that deals with something pertaining to disease, because many times this is the area and the portion of the zodiac that deals with disease and problems. As a matter of fact, the middle of Aquarius is in the nakshatra Shatabhishak that deals with hard to cure diseases. And that's coming up during this month of February and part of March as well. So February and March, as I've been saying, will be very, very difficult. Explosive events. And this pertains to some major issues concerning what? Disease. This could be the potential that I've been talking about for so long, that this is the month to watch out for. Now, going back to what else is happening right now, when Mars goes into the early degrees of Sagittarius, it is still Gandanta. The last degrees of water and the first few degrees of fire is Gandanta. This is so extreme, where emotions are out of control. It in essence feels like people are drowning, losing it everywhere all over the world. And you can see this in politics, in religion, in philosophy, spirituality. It's all gone out the roof. And let me just say this. This is the year that people are going to start searching for something much deeper and much more spiritual, by the fact that the Jupiter K2 have come together in the sign of truth and spirituality. Sagittarius. Sagittarius. So Mars will be in Sagittarius, by the way, February 7th through March 22nd. Watch how things heat up and come to explosive events. And yes, we have fear everywhere, with disease, with war, with fighting, anger, hostility, emotions run wild. In government, people are out of control. Everywhere. It's not just in the United States, it's everywhere. So watch how protests, how fighting and attacks will be happening. But I want you to be aware about this disease potential right now. Now, what I want to do right now is I want to put up the chart for China. So putting up the chart for China here, I have that China's initial in one of the beginning charts that make reference to what we can make with predictions is October 1st of 1949. So I'm not too clear as to if this is a correct time, but I do have 3:15 a.m. in Beijing, China. So, but looking at this chart, we can make some real important references of how this disease is going to go and affect the world. Since it started here, it's affecting China in a very, very difficult way. Their economy, their travel, everything, fear. Everyone's walking around with a mask to protect themselves. So looking at this chart, I think it's really important to notice where the moon is, because this moon being at 3 degrees of Capricorn is right where transiting Saturn is. Saturn's at 1 degree as I speak right now, moving towards this moon. And in this chart, since the ascendant is Leo, we're looking at Mars in the 12th house of secrets, of enemies, of problems, Mars in Cancer in the 12th. And that's also the house of hospitals. And the 6th house and the 12th house are the house of disease and health. Look where the moon is, look where Mars are. So that's where Saturn has just entered. And not only that, Pluto's going to be going up, back and forth into 0 degrees of Capricorn, causing more problems for what? Their economy, for health issues, things behind the scenes, secret enemies and secret enemies. This is what China is having to deal with now. So looking at that, Mars is in the 12th house. And Saturn is going to come up and oppose this Mars, causing all sorts of setbacks and delays. Of course, this is going to take a couple of years till Saturn moves up to the placement where it's in opposition to Mars. Because Saturn just entered into Capricorn around the 24th of January, and it will remain there for approximately 2.5 years. But the good news is this: when Jupiter comes up to conjoin Saturn, that's going to be in May. So I think when Jupiter comes together with Saturn in the 6th house for this chart, it's going to almost touch the moon with Saturn, which means this can be a healing by May. This will be probably coming better under control. But between now and then, it's going to be more difficult. But I do have hope for this being put to rest and come under control, just like SARS did, and just like the Ebola. All of these things, they come up, people get so afraid. And yes, it does affect many people, make them ill and sick. I don't think this is going to be another AIDS. So that, based on the fact of the transit of Jupiter, will come up and protect, but realize after June 29th, Jupiter is going to retrograde out of this house and leave Saturn, affecting the moon. So let me just say this: when Jupiter goes into Capricorn, there's going to be some relief. That will be the 29th of March through the 29th of June. So lots of things can come under control. But after the 29th of June, Jupiter is going to back up into Sagittarius, where we have only Saturn in the 6th house, till Jupiter comes back the end of November of 2020. So you see, there's these times when there's hope and clarity, where things get resolved, but then it falls backwards into this chaotic pattern when Saturn is by itself in the 6th house, dealing with health, healing, disease, aspecting the 12th house of hospitals and problems dealing with health and disease and things they can't see. That's the 12th house. But what's very interesting also, I think, that's caused such a scare and disruption right now, and will continue on and off throughout this year, is the fact that Jupiter is at 29 degrees of Sagittarius. Because this is where transiting Jupiter will conjoin Pluto. This represents huge power. So it looks like China is gaining in power, but it seems like there's so many things that keep coming that cause them to fall back, build up, fall back, build up. But this is a very powerful aspect, let me just say. And on and off throughout this year, Pluto and Jupiter will be on the natal Jupiter, which can represent extreme explosive events that China is in control of. So China is in control and can cause some major disruption and possible atomic energy. So what I'm saying is they have power. Where are they going to emit this power? That is something that we're going to have to wait and see. But I'm seeing that they are extremely powerful. Things are happening. And there are things that we don't know about. So many secrets and things that are evolving out of this year. And just looking at the chart of China, realize that they have Neptune in the second house with Mercury and the Sun. Now Neptune with K2 in the second house, plus it is with Mercury, such as right now Mercury will be with Neptune. What does this tell me? It's in the sign of Virgo. It seems like so many diseases and problems come out of China. Because why? They've got to clear and clean up. There is too much fog and smog and pollution in the air. That's what Neptune rules. And Neptune being with K2 represents disease. And China is prone to cultivating these mass diseases that affect our world, such as the last time SARS came out of China. So there's something about it that they are a culprit of the manufacturing of disease. I don't mean intentionally, or maybe it is. Who knows? Because what I'm seeing with Neptune, we don't know, or can we see the truth? And this thing will evolve. It will pull back, and it will evolve again, and then pull back again. But eventually, I think once Jupiter goes into Capricorn and remains there, starting the end of November throughout most of 2021, this will come under control. It will be resolved. But the repercussions of how it's affected the rest of the world may be a problem, because this is how it affects China. We don't know how it's going to affect the entire world. And additionally, let me add this. With Rahu and Ketu where they are right now, over the course of the next 6 months, you're going to see some radical destruction around the world. And people need to be aware, and they need to be honest, truthful, and clear themselves and clean up the world, because that's the pollution and the problem that we're facing with much destruction on planet Earth. And another thing is healing the anger, just the hostility and the warlike attitudes that are rampant among human beings right now on the planet. This is adding to the problems that are surfacing now. So with that, I'd like to close. So thank you for listening. Realize that I think this whole problem is going to be resolved and come under control. So if you would like to learn more information about me, if you would like a reading or receive my free newsletter, go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. Or if you would like to learn Vedic astrology, you can go to my university website and study with me. It's all online, which is University of Vedic Astrology.com. Thank you.